The rituals associated with Nongkrem are, to put it mildly, delightfully eccentric. One involves groups of youths going from house to house, beating the roofs with wooden poles to drive out evil. A priest and a troupe of musicians accompany them, chanting mantras and making enough noise to wake the ancestors. For obvious, practical reasons, the ladies of the houses rarely waste time before appearing with rice beer to treat the evil chasers. However, after the community dancing and a whole lot of incredible rituals comes the grand finale, a football match. And you would have to be quite naive to think it an ordinary game. The match is played with a wooden ball, ensuring that even if you miss the goal, you certainly won't miss the excitement. Once at the plots, the people perform a siroka, a prayer ritual offered at the boundaries of their land. It is a firm rule, they simply do not set fire to the plots to clear them until these prayers have been offered to the spirits of the land. The next rite, miamua, involves a meticulous process of fencing. Using half-burnt stumps, tree branches, and bamboo, the householders construct barriers around their plots. They then take a ceremonial stroll around the perimeter, reciting mantras intended to ward off evil spirits and protect the future crops from disease. Legend has it that Jawai, the district headquarters of West Jaintia Hills, was once covered by dense uninhabited forests. It was home to 5 deities, 4 represented by massive stone monoliths and 1 as a river nymph. The 4 stone slabs can still be found at the 4 corners of the town today. The deities longed for human company, and one day, their wish was fulfilled when a wandering tribe arrived there. The cases of the Khasi Hills wake up to the tune of spring with Sad Sukra, or the Dance of Peaceful Hearts. It is a grand Thanksgiving festival observed across Khasi inhabited areas. Unmarried girls and boys, dressed in their finest traditional attire, turn out to participate in a community dance to the rhythmic accompaniment of drums and the tangmuri. Welcome to a truly mind-bending video on springtime spectacles of Northeast India. Meghalaya can aptly be called the queen of all the northeastern hill states. Nature seems to have designed it to be so. The matrilineal traditions of the state's major ethnic groups make it one of the most fascinating socio-cultural entities in the country. Its climatic conditions do not really encourage a reliance on jooming or shifting cultivation as a primary cultural driver. Barring the Garo hills and a few outlying areas, it isn't the strongest fountainhead of tradition here. Still, the mood of spring does not go uncelebrated in this beautiful state. The cases of the Khasi Hills wake up to the tune of spring with Sad Sukra, or the Dance of Peaceful Hearts. It is a grand Thanksgiving festival observed across Khasi inhabited areas. Unmarried girls and boys, dressed in their finest traditional attire, turn out to participate in a community dance to the rhythmic accompaniment of drums and the tangmuri. The tangmuri is so beloved by the Khasis that they affectionately call it the queen of all musical instruments. They also observe Amsan Nongkarai, a 5-day ritual to propitiate their principal deity, Lei Shilong, seeking material prosperity and protection against storms and hail. Similarly, the Nongkrem dance officially celebrated at Smit nowadays is the most important and colorful celebration of the Khasis. It is intrinsically linked to agriculture and was originally held to mark the beginning of a new crop cycle. Strange and wonderful practices are woven into the fabric of Meghalaya's traditions. The uncanny beliefs associated with the Nongkrem of the Jaintias, for example, can absolutely floor you. While not strictly a spring festival, it is celebrated after the sowing is over. It is deeply connected to the hope for a rich harvest and the exorcism of evil spirits and plague. Legend has it that Jawai, the district headquarters of West Jaintia Hills, was once covered by dense uninhabited forests. It was home to 5 deities, 4 represented by massive stone monoliths and 1 as a river nymph. The 4 stone slabs can still be found at the 4 corners of the town today. The deities longed for human company, and one day, their wish was fulfilled when a wandering tribe arrived there. Overcome with joy, the eldest deity broke into a vigorous dance. The sight of a giant, dancing spirit terrified the new arrivals, who prepared to flee. The deity quickly calmed them, explaining he was merely expressing his delight at their arrival, and promised them prosperity. They stayed, but years later, when a great famine struck, the tribe prayed to the deity for help. He advised them to perform a community festival after the seeds were sown. And thus, Breathtaking was born. The rituals associated with Breathtaking are, to put it mildly, delightfully eccentric. One involves groups of youths going from house to house, beating the roofs with wooden poles to drive out evil. A priest and a troupe of musicians accompany them, chanting mantras and making enough noise to wake the ancestors. For obvious, practical reasons, the ladies of the houses rarely waste time before appearing with rice beer to treat the evil chasers. However, after the community dancing and a whole lot of incredible rituals comes the grand finale, a football match. And you would have to be quite naive to think it an ordinary game. The match is played with a wooden ball, ensuring that even if you miss the goal, you certainly won't miss the excitement. Spring arrives in the Garo hills as a clarion call, signaling that nature is ready to bear a new harvest. The Garos respond to this invitation with a zest that is truly infectious, ensuring the new cycle, or the new year, if you prefer, is welcomed with absolute freshness. The first order of business is a collective cleaning drive. With the unadulterated joy of communal living, groups of boys and girls sweep the entire village until it sparkles. Once the village is pristine, they invoke Mini Rokim, the goddess of crops, marking the beginning of a fountainhead of heavenly delights. This leads them on a short trek to their Jum plots. The way these hill communities select their plots is a study in grace that might baffle the civilized world. In a matter so directly tied to material survival, these communities resolve land distribution with such peaceful, quiet consensus, without a single law enforcer or a hint of covert ill will, that it remains a beautiful mystery to outsiders. It echoes the same magnanimity seen when a girl wins a weaving competition. Rather than nursing envy, her peers and their parents celebrate her, possessing the sanity to acknowledge superior craft and the broad-heartedness to share in another's joy. One cannot help but wonder if the modern civilized world has far more to learn from these nature's children than it has to teach them. Once at the plots, the people perform a siroka, a prayer ritual offered at the boundaries of their land. It is a firm rule: they simply do not set fire to the plots to clear them until these prayers have been offered to the spirits of the land. The next rite, Miamua, involves a meticulous process of fencing. Using half-burnt stumps, tree branches, and bamboo, the householders construct barriers around their plots. They then take a ceremonial stroll around the perimeter, reciting mantras intended to ward off evil spirits and protect the future crops from disease. The Atongs, a subgroup of the Garos, kick off their Jum activities with rituals that are particularly fascinating. Given the abundance of nature, there is neither room nor reason for any surreptitious grabbing of land. Even the selection of plots is treated as a festive occasion. Once the land is chosen, they seek divine blessings for a hassle-free cycle that will culminate in a bountiful harvest. They erect a bamboo structure representing the deity, upon which the priest performs sacrifices and chants rhythmic mantras, a practice that subtly highlights their ancient ancestral connections to the Bodo and Borok tribes. Once the ceremonial planting of the first seeds is complete, the village erupts into pure, unadulterated merrymaking. Rice beer flows as freely as the laughter, and the air fills with the sounds of feasting and celebration, marking the vibrant beginning of their new crop cycle. It is truly remarkable how these traditions, Whether it is a wooden football game in the Jaintia Hills or a village-wide cleaning drive in the Garo Hills, transform the heavy labor of agriculture into a season of shared humanity. Does this deep-rooted sense of community, which seems to effortlessly balance spiritual reverence with social harmony, feel like it is becoming harder to find in our fast-paced modern lives? To understand these hills, one must understand their pulse as it beats in Sad Sukra. Celebrated by the Pnar people, it is less about the thunderous drama of harvest and more about the quiet collective resolve of a community. Adorned in gold and finery, they dance not for what they have gained, but for the protection of what is to come. It is a quintessential Meghalayan truth. When faced with the unpredictability of the mountains, you don't stand in fear, you step into a dance. These festivals are the state's living curriculum. In Meghalaya, sowing a seed is a prayer. Cleaning a village is a social contract, and a game played with a wooden ball is a lesson in humility. In a world increasingly obsessed with progress, the people of these hills offer a quieter, more profound alternative. They have mastered the art of living in harmony, not just with the soil and the rain, but with each other. Their matrilineal wisdom and radical communal joy remind us of something the modern world often forgets. The heaviest burdens are lightened when carried on the back of a song, a shared drumbeat, and the stubborn beautiful refusal to walk through life alone. Ultimately, these festivals aren't just about agriculture. They are about the realization that we are meant to be stewards of the land and brothers to our neighbors. It turns out the woodlanders have been teaching us the secret to a meaningful life all along. We just had to be quiet enough to listen. If you enjoyed dissecting these ethnocultural and historical tweak points with me, consider joining our small circle of explorers by subscribing.